Hello all, welcome to Tech Wishes. In my previous video, I discussed about OAuth 2.0, that how can we implement authorization in our web services and other applications, right? And so we are going to discuss yet another mechanism to implement authorization, that is JWT, right? JWT is called as a JSON Web Token. Sometimes we will also call as a JWT, that is the JAWT, right? But popularly it is known as a JWT only, right? And also, please make a note that it is utilized for authorization and not for authentication. So now let's understand how it works, right? But first, let's understand how a typical application interact with the user. So suppose you have a static website or any web page, right, on server, right, and user want to interact or like get some pages from there. So suppose user sends one request to the application server, and it gets back response, right? So but how things are being worked upon here, we know that whatever requests are being sent, they are utilizing the HTTP, that is the protocol which is stateless. So whenever we are going to make a second request to get some response or some page from the server, it is going to send us back, but it doesn't know that whether the request has come from the any new user or the previous user, right? Because it is like it completely stateless. It means that uh, every request is a first request for a server, and it has no way to track like what was the previous request or what the previous response was there, right? So that's why if suppose user now we want to make sure that whoever are trying to access our application, they should be authorized, right? We should not allow anybody to access our system or application. So for that, we need to implement some kind of the auth system, right? So for that, we what we can do, we use the session token or session IDs, right? So for that, what happens that whenever a user want to interact with a web application, and when they send a request to the app, so now application will maintain some kind of a session, right? Session logs in its system, right? So that it will know, okay, whenever any second request comes or any more request comes from the user, it will try to correlate, right? Whether this is a new request or a previous request, right? So, for example, our user sends a request to one, then this application will create a session ID and also stored it as a log in its like directory, right? So now, in next time, and also this session ID is sent back to user, and typically it is set in a cookie. So for any subsequent request, the request also will come along with session ID as well. So now in second time, whenever this request is received by the application, it's going to look up this session ID in its log. So if that session ID exists in the session log, it knows, okay, this is like a previous session, so it has the previous history, so it can accordingly talk to the user. Like na we always log into a website, right? Suppose we have a banking website, we log in over there, but for each request we don't need to tell our ID password. That's how it is like caching, saving your session ID in the background and serving you and your request, right? So now this is how we can authenticate the users using different IDs. But yeah, so idea here is we are using the combination of session ID and cookies to serve our customers. But now the way we have understood this problem, we kind of assume that whatever the application which is interacting with the user, it is application is monolith, right? So because, but right now, the applications which we are creating, they are generally microservices, right? So the typical service structure right now will be having like multiple instances of a deployed in various servers, and also having a load balancer in front of them. And then any request coming from user will go through the load balancer, right? But now, if we use the session log that are going to stay in just one session, one server, right? So suppose there's one request from user, and now that request is routed to the server one. It will create the session ID and store its local, right? But next time, suppose there's a next request goes to the server 2. It has no means to know, okay, whether this is a fresh request or if they say session exists or not. So that's why a session token concept will not work if we are trying to save session IDs in the server itself, right? Because for the subsequent request, if requests are going to another server, they don't have access to that data, which is was part of the like previous server or other server, right? Which served previously. So now, for that, what we do, we have like we normally to solve this problem, we what we do, we create like a caching structure, like caching mechanism, like a shared cache. So instead of every request, instead of server creating that session ID in its local, it is going to basically interact with this shared cache and save that session ID in that cache itself. Maybe it's a Redis or some other you can utilize, but this is how it is. It works, right? And now all the servers are going to write and read from this shared cache, right? So with this, the problem of multiple servers is solved. But the problem is we have introduced a single point of failure, because if somehow this shared cache goes down, then all sessions are lost, right? So it is a very big problem in our design. So for that, there are a couple of solutions. So first solution, we can use a sticky session. In that, load balancer will make sure that the request which is sent back to that server only, we served previously, right? So it will stick to the particular server. So now the work is on the load balancer, so that it has to maintain some kind of table that, okay, this particular user is being served by the server 1 or server 2 or server 3. So if there are subsequent requests coming from that server or then that user, then those are going to the those server only, right? So this also a solution to implement this. Next, now because like we have seen that now another way is that we can use the JWT token, right? So what happened in this? Instead of session ID, we create and store in the server itself. What we do, for every request, we create a JSON object, right? And this is object is signed by the server. So the server knows, okay, and that this JWT token is signed by me, and then it is sent back to the user. So next time, whenever user want to request for for a new web page or some new request, they have to send this token back to the server, right? Because server has signed this token, so it can verify the authenticity of this token, because the server only issued this token. So when it is sent back from user for their subsequent request, server will be able to identify the identity of the user and will be able to authenticate or authorize them. So, I mean, this is like a, very good way to utilize I mean, JWT token. So, in this, the onus of storing that JWT token is not on this server. So now user has to send that token in each and every request back to the server. So yeah, they are basically the JSON web token which are signed by the server. And this is like a typical token look like for JWT. So I will explain this in my subsequent videos that the structure of the this token, how it works. But right now you can just get a feel that how it look like in actual. So you can see that it's an object. It's not like a JSON string. Like normally we see that curly braces string. It's not like that. It's like a object. So now let us understand that how session token and how JWT token works. So we know that in case of session token, user will send a request to the server, and server will store that session in the memory and send back the session ID as a cookie back to the user. And then user is going for next request, it is going to send the session ID plus in the cookie along with new request. So now server will get that user from session ID, verify that okay, this is a returning user, and will give them the response back. In case of JWT token, what we do, we get requests from the user, then we create a JWT token with secret key by server and send back this token to the user in the browser. Now, in subsequent request, user has to send this token back, and now once server receive this token, it verifies the signature because it knows the signature of the token, and once it is verified, it is able to send response back to the user. So now you can understand the difference between these two mechanisms. So I think it's like more clear now. So with this, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Please leave comments or questions. Please subscribe as well. Thank you.